Most businesses think cheap pricing is a competitive advantage. Lower price means more customers. More customers means more sales. And more sales should mean more growth. That logic sounds correct, but in many cases, it quietly destroys businesses. Because price doesn't just affect revenue, it affects the type of customers you attract, how your product is perceived, how your operations behave, and how your business scales over time. Cheap pricing is not just a financial decision, it's a strategic position. And the problem is, many businesses choose that position without fully understanding the long-term consequences. They think they're competing, but what they're actually doing is compressing their own future. You don't see the damage immediately. Sales may increase, customers may come in faster. But underneath that growth, pressure begins to build. Margins shrink. Expectations rise. Operations get strained. And over time, the business becomes harder to run, not easier. So the real question isn't, can you sell at a lower price? It's, what does that price do to your business over time? So let's look at what cheap pricing could mean for your business. 1. Cheap pricing attracts the wrong customer behavior. Price doesn't just determine how much people pay. It determines who shows up and how they behave. Cheap pricing tends to attract customers who are highly price sensitive, less loyal, more demanding, relative to what they pay, quick to switch when a cheaper option appears. These customers are not necessarily bad, but they are difficult to build a stable business around, because their primary decision driver is price, not value. That means they compare constantly, they negotiate aggressively, they churn quickly. So while your customer count increases, customer quality often decreases. In contrast, businesses that price based on value tend to attract customers who care about reliability, outcomes, experience, opinion. Cheap pricing often feels like growth, but it's actually volume without stability. In Nigeria, for example, many small service businesses compete heavily on price, only to find themselves constantly chasing customers who never stay. The result is a cycle. More customers leads to more work, leads to less loyalty, leads to constant replacement. That's not scalable growth, that's operational pressure. 2. Cheap pricing compresses your margins and removes flexibility. Every business runs on margins. Margins give you room to experiment, ability to absorb mistakes, capacity to invest, protection during slow periods. When pricing is too low, margins shrink. And when margins shrink, the business loses flexibility. Suddenly, one bad month becomes dangerous. One unexpected cost becomes stressful. One failed campaign becomes expensive. You stop making strategic decisions. You start making survival decisions. In the United States, companies like Walmart succeed with low pricing, but only because they operate at massive scale with extreme operational efficiency. Small and mid-sized businesses do not have that advantage. Opinion. Cheap pricing without scale is one of the fastest ways to trap a business in constant pressure, because you're working harder for less room to breathe. And over time, that pressure compounds. Building on that, there's another problem that shows up quickly when pricing is too low. 3. Cheap pricing forces you into high volume before you're ready. Low pricing only works if volume makes up for it. That means you must sell more, deliver more, support more customers. But volume introduces complexity. More customers means more operations, more customer service, more errors, more coordination. If your systems are not ready, growth becomes chaos. This is where many businesses break. They scale demand faster than they can scale structure. In the UK, many early-stage service businesses underprice to win clients, then struggle to deliver consistently as demand increases. Opinion: cheap pricing forces scale before structure, and scaling without structure creates instability. Instead of growing smoothly, the business becomes harder to manage every month. You don't gain leverage, you gain stress. And beyond operations and margins, pricing also shapes something even harder to fix: perception. 4. Cheap pricing weakens your brand positioning. Price communicates value, whether you intend it to or not. When you price low, the market makes assumptions: lower quality, lower reliability, less expertise. Even if your product is strong, your pricing may signal the opposite. This affects customer expectations, trust levels, willingness to pay more later. It also makes it harder to reposition. Raising prices after being known as cheap is difficult. Customers resist it. New customers hesitate. You become trapped in the position you created. Compare that to brands that price based on value. They build perception first, and pricing supports that perception. Opinion: pricing is not just about affordability. It's about how you want your business to be understood. And once the market defines you, changing that perception becomes expensive. And when you zoom out even further, the long-term impact becomes even clearer. 5. Cheap pricing limits your ability to build a strong business. Strong businesses require investment. You need resources to improve your product, hire better people, build better systems, market effectively. Cheap pricing reduces the resources available for all of this, so the business gets stuck. You're working hard, but the business isn't improving at the same rate. Over time, product quality stagnates. Team quality suffers. Systems remain basic. Growth becomes harder. In contrast, businesses with healthier pricing can reinvest into themselves. They get better over time. Opinion: the goal of a business is not just to survive today, it's to become stronger over time. Cheap pricing often prevents that, because there's no surplus to reinvest. So, instead of just looking at the risks, it's important to understand the right way to approach pricing. 6. Practical strategy: how to price without killing your business. Pricing should be intentional, not reactive. Here are practical ways smart businesses approach it. First, price based on value, not fear. Understand what your product actually delivers and price accordingly, even if it feels uncomfortable initially. Second, test pricing gradually. Instead of jumping dramatically, adjust in controlled steps and observe how customers respond. Third, segment your customers. Not every customer needs the same pricing model. You can offer different tiers based on value and needs. Fourth, build differentiation. If your product is clearly better in experience, reliability, or results, price becomes less sensitive. Finally, focus on customer quality, not just quantity. Fewer high-quality customers often create a more stable and profitable business than many low-value ones. Opinion: pricing is not about being the cheapest. It's about being sustainably valuable. To bring it all together, here's the bigger picture. Conclusion: cheap pricing looks like a shortcut to growth, but in reality, it often creates long-term pressure. It attracts unstable customers. It compresses margins. It forces premature scale. It weakens your brand. And it limits your ability to improve. The businesses that last are not always the cheapest. They are the ones that understand the relationship between price, value, and structure. Because in business, price is not just a number. It's a decision that shapes everything else. This is Business Decoded, where we explain how money and businesses really work